Evening. Welcome to the Granville County Board of Commissioners meeting for Monday, March the 4th. We'll call this meeting to order. First, we're going to have our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Jimmy Gooch.
If you will, please join me in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we humbly ask for your blessings on all of us here tonight and on this meeting. Please give us the wisdom needed to make the best decisions possible for our citizens and the organizations affected by this meeting. Give our citizens patience and understanding as we work through the process of dealing with all the challenges presented here tonight and throughout the upcoming months. Oh Lord, thank you for giving us the opportunity to live in this great country, state, and county. May we continue to move forward and make our county a great place for people to live, work, and enjoy life. Father, we thank you for all the many blessings you've given us and pray for many more to come. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. And if you will, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to slightly deviate from our agenda this evening, and we're going to put something of great importance in the front of the meeting where it should be, because I know a lot of people like to get out and get home, and especially on a rainy night like tonight. So we're going to go ahead and have a moment from our attorney. He's going to give a brief comment, and then we're going to go through the rest of our meeting as normal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After tax assessments were sent out to taxpayers, the tax administrator learned that the neighborhood adjustment table found at pages 353 to 360 of the schedule of values prepared by the county's contracted appraisal firm contained adjustment factors used in the 2018 revaluation. This will be referred to as the 2018 adjustment factors. The 2018 adjustment factors were not used in the tax assessments for 2024. Instead, up-to-date neighborhood sales data was used in assessing properties for the 2024 revaluation. As noted on page 352 of the schedule of values, the neighborhood rates will be from 75% to 125% and will be applied by the appraiser on final review. The updated adjustment table applied by the appraisal on final review will be made available to the public shortly. Use of the 2018 adjustment factors in appraising property in 2024 would result in substantial errors in appraised value. The overriding requirement of property appraisal under the Machinery Act is that all property, real and personal, shall, far as practicable, be appraised or valued at its true value in money. When used in the subchapter, the words true value shall be interpreted as meaning market value, that is, the price estimated in the terms of money at which property would change hands between a willing and financially able buyer and a willing seller, neither being under any compulsion to buy or to sell, and both having reasonable knowledge of all the uses to which the property is adapted and for which it is capable of being used. That's from North Carolina General Statute 105-283, subsection A. Our courts have noted that the use of schedule of values and rules of application not only makes evaluation of a substantial number of parcels of property feasible, but also ensures objective and consistent countywide property valuations and corollary equity and property tax liability. That's from N. Ray Allred, a North Carolina Supreme Court case at 351 NC 1. However, appraisals cannot be based upon a blind adherence to the schedule of values. Although the schedule of values shows an objective process in the county's valuation procedures as a whole, it does not prove that the valuation and assessment of the subject property was itself not arbitrary. And again, that's a quotation from the Allred case. The appraisal process must be one that appraises property as far as practicable at its true value in money. As a result, blind adherence to the 2018 adjustment factors would result in appraisals which would not reflect the true value in money. So to try to make that as clear as possible, the tax appraisals that were sent out, the tax assessments that were sent out to the public it contained the correct appraisal information. However, the county schedule of values contained neighborhood assessments that were erroneously based on the 2018 adjustment factors. This was an error in including it in the schedule of values, and the county intends to correct that error by publishing the new or the correct schedule of values and publicizing that in the same manner in which the schedule of values was approved in the first place. That will give the public an opportunity to comment on those neighborhood adjustment values and to appeal directly from those values. Mr. Chairman, I don't mind taking questions from the audience the best that I can answer them at this time, if that would be helpful for clarity from the process.
We'll rip through the board right quick, and
sure.
Then after that, the board members want to go first, or you want to go ahead and let the audience come, and then we'll do that right quick. Okay. So we just did a head nod, and we're going to have the audience. If there's a couple people who've got specific questions, how are we going to approach that?
Now,
on your suggestion.
Yeah, sure. And I would ask that these questions be about the process, not anybody's specific tax bill. I don't have any information about anyone's specific tax bill.
Let me do this. Can I have a show of hands with someone who has a specific question about the statement of values? We got 2 people with hands, 3 people shot up. So we've got 3. Let's go my left, work our way this way, if you don't mind, from left to right. So JC, yes. If you'll come first. Come up to the podium. Just so we can have the recapture easier for the clerk, please. Sorry, it's a lot of moving around. I apologize for that, but this is a good opportunity. It's really important. I want you all to make sure we get everything. And you have to push, there's a button on a podium.
JC Georgiev, 1174 Smith Creek. So thank you for that. I have a few questions, some that I still have to process through from what you said, but
and I may have to process through some of the answers as well, so
yeah.
Go ahead.
The first question that comes to mind is, what is that timeline for people to appeal? Like, are you extending the appeal process?
Okay, so this is a separate, every taxpayer can appeal the individual assessment, but what I'm referencing in this particular instance is readopting those pages of the schedule of values. So the schedule of values is governed by General Statute 105-317C. And basically, it goes through a process, and just because I think it's probably important for everyone to understand, I'll go through that in some detail.
Okay.
And again, we're doing this after the adoption of the schedule of values and only changing a portion of it. There's no perfect playbook for this, but after reviewing the matter extensively, this is the best process that I believe we can follow. And so the assessor will submit the proposed schedule changes not less than 21 days before the meeting at which they will be considered by the board. So we intend to get those out in the next couple of days and then schedule the meeting at which those would be considered. On the same day that they're submitted to the board for its consideration, the assessor shall file a copy of the proposed schedules, standards, and rules in the statute says his, in this case it would be her office, where they shall remain available for public inspection. Upon receipt of the proposed schedule, standards, and rules, the Board of Commissioners shall publish a statement in a newspaper having general circulation in the county, stating, A, that the proposed schedules, standards, and rules be used in appraising real property in the county have been submitted to the Board of County Commissioners and are available for public inspection in the assessor's office. Again, this would reference just the changed pages. The time and place of a public hearing on the proposed schedule, standards, and rules that shall be held by the Board of County Commissioners at least 7 days before adopting the final schedule, standards, and rules. Then subsection 3 of that section says, when the Board of County Commissioners approves the final schedule, standards, and rules, it shall issue an order adopting them. Notice of this order shall be published once a week for 4 successive weeks in a newspaper having general circulation in the county, with the last publication being not less than 7 days before the last day for challenging the validity of the schedule of standards and rules by appeal to the Property Tax Commission. So as you can see, it's a process that gives multiple chances for the public to comment on it and then appeal to the Property Tax Commission. And we believe that while we're certainly willing to consider individual tax cards during this, or tax assessments during this process, and also consider individual appeals. It would be much more efficient if there are concerns about the schedule of values to have a process that specifically addresses those neighborhood factors. Those are the only things that are changing. And I think when the public sees the information, it'll be relatively clear that they were made in error. And we hope that'll answer the questions, but to the extent that people want to challenge those neighborhood factors, we believe they should be given an opportunity to challenge those directly instead of doing it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Michael had a question, but I don't see it.
You said there was another one on the left?
Yeah. Is there,
Was there another one on the left behind JC on this side? We'll go to the middle here. Doc, I saw your hand up, and Jesse, yeah, okay, come on. This is unprecedented that the attorney volunteered to take questions, so we're going to pounce on it. I just want to appreciate the audience for being here tonight. You know, we realized there was an error and have been working on it behind the scenes, and obviously some other people did as well, so thank you.
Okay, so my question is along the line of JC's.
Just back up and say your name first for the
Katie
record.
Selgren, 1098 Lake Ridge Drive. And my question is, will we have the same amount of time as we have now? Like, will we receive a new assessment in the mail that says this is your new tax assessment value? Or are those values going to remain the same? And then if they are, how do I know that I was assessed correctly if I don't know my neighborhood correction or multiplier at this time?
So I'm going to answer that the best I can. Is it tax? Jenny's up there. Yeah. Jenny, if I get any of this wrong, you can correct me. But the tax, based on this particular issue, I'm not saying there are not other errors that will be made and corrected when discovered, but based on this particular issue, we believe that the tax assessments that were sent out are correct. In other words, the correct, up-to-date values were used in calculating your taxes. That's not to say there wasn't some other error on your tax card, like the square footage of your house could have been incorrect.
Of course.
As far as the neighborhood adjustment factor, we believe that the correct one was used in all cases that we're aware of for the appraisal. And so there shouldn't be any change in your value resulting from that. But we will, just as quickly as the staff can review this and deliver it, as the statute said, to the commissioners and post it online, you will have that available to you so you can see it. And as always, the tax office and others will be able to answer questions and explain to you how that was arrived at.
Okay. And then one last question. Let's say you did have something on your tax form that was incorrect. Like you said, your square footage of your house was incorrect, your lot size was incorrect, something like that. Should you still go ahead and file an appeal, or should you wait until this schedule comes out?
Well, no, we would urge you, if you see something that's wrong on your tax card, not to file a formal appeal to start with. You'll have an opportunity to do that later. We would urge you to contact the tax office and ask for an informal reconsideration.
Okay.
And our form and the information online may refer to that as an assessor's appeal. I want to stress that that's not truly a legal appeal. It's not a part of a judicial or quasi-judicial process. That's just a request for reconsideration. So if I'd been writing that, I would have said it's a request for an informal reconsideration, where you can bring anything that you want to the tax office, and they will look at it, and if you're correct, they'll correct it. We want to, just as much as everyone here does, we're dealing with thousands of these things, so we want to get them right and correct them if we can in the way that's most efficient for the taxpayers and the public. I've found issues with my own tax card. It happens, so we want to make sure they're corrected and it's taken care of.
Okay. And then is the tax office aware that people are going to be coming in and asking for this?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've been coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been dealing with a steady stream of people.
Okay. And then Jesse, I think you were up. I saw your hand as well. I apologize for the familiarity amongst y'all.
Jesse Davia, 1100 Lake Ridge Drive. I know there was something about once the appraisal company comes up with the schedule values, and the schedule values is then submitted to the county commissioners, correct? And then the county commissioners, I believe it said it had to be published or placed somewhere for a certain period of time while the appeal, what's that time period?
There's several time periods in the statute, but it's 21 days before the meeting at which they will be considered by the board. Is the time frame, is the first time frame in the statute, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so you're telling us that you think it'll take about 21 days to come up with a new schedule, and then
we intend to do this maybe even tomorrow as far as posting the information that was actually used in your tax assessment. We have that information. In other words, it was put in the schedule values in error. There was
not put in there in error.
Well, the one that was put in there was put in there in error. The correct one was unintentionally omitted. So it wasn't like it didn't exist at the time, to my knowledge, didn't exist at the time that the wrong one was put in. The tax appraisal firm delivered to Jenny the wrong schedule of neighborhood, the neighborhood adjustment table.
Yeah,
They delivered to her the wrong.
I understand. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if you do this tomorrow, how long are we talking before you guys have the actual meeting to do the acceptance of this into your revised 2024 manual?
It would have to be a minimum of 21 days, so it would be.
I understand that, but I'm asking for the date because I would imagine you guys have already discussed this at length, as Tim was saying.
We haven't discussed it. We haven't discussed it at length. The tax assessor and I will map out those dates probably tomorrow, so that we have them all down on actual dates. I'm just telling you what the statute says. That's what the requirements are.
So do you think you're going to go with a minimum, or do you think you're going to extend it a little bit further for everybody?
It would probably April 1st. It would probably be the April 1st meeting. We want to go ahead and do it as quickly as possible. The information will be out there for everybody to look at almost immediately. So we want to go ahead and make sure this is addressed as quickly as possible.
How long did it take to adopt the first schedule and set up the first 2024 manual? How long was that process for the county commissioners?
As far as the notice period goes, I think we'd be following the same notice period. I don't think, and maybe there was a little bit of extra slack built in because of the date a meeting fell, but I'm not aware that we noticed anything for any greatly increased statutory period or anything. So we'd be following, for all practical purposes, the same schedule.
My point is that obviously the error was found, right? And then you guys discussed it amongst yourselves, and nobody told the public.
That's not the case. That's not the case.
Mind you, the situation is still that the appeal period.
Your mic's off, sir.
I'm going to see if you're going to sit with the 21.
Your assertion is incorrect.
I'm still trying to finish talking, but that's fine.
Go ahead and let him.
I was, but he kept turning my microphone off, so.
There you go. It's on now.
It's on. Go ahead.
You're the one turning it off.
I did at first.
Yeah, he did it first. Thank you for recognizing that. I'm just trying to get you guys to give us a schedule so we understand how long people are going to have. You're telling us we're going to have less than a month now, probably, or about a month before this is voted on again. And a lot of these people here didn't know about any of this stuff until this week. So I was just hoping that you guys would be kind to the public and maybe extend that out a little bit further for people to discuss. That was my only question.
Yeah, try to answer that best I can.
Sorry. Let me try to answer that the best I can, and I don't know if my answer is going to satisfy you, but we found out about this. At least I had learned about it last week. I don't know, Jenny, I don't think she realized that the error was there. You learned about it last week as well, correct? And so we learned about it last week. I talked to the School of Government. I talked to the Property Tax Commission. I did research on it. We met with the appraisal firm last week at length. We didn't have a plan for how to address this because we wanted to try to get it right and understand all the facts involved here until this afternoon. So that's why you're not getting an exact day-by-day schedule today. But again, what you have is a correct assessment for these purposes. So we use the correct neighborhood factors in calculating the tax. The wrong one was just published in the manual. The correct one will be published, I hope, tomorrow when we publish this for everyone. And we're not telling you cannot appeal what you've already got. If you feel strongly that you want to go ahead and appeal it, you're welcome to do that. It's your statutory right. We don't feel like that, at least I don't feel like as a legal advisor to the board and the tax office, that we've got much room to give any additional time because if we get to April 1st and then we have to, then following that, we have to, for 4 successive weeks, publish the decision on this particular item. That puts us into May. And so we want to make sure it's done before the budget's adopted and that type thing. So we're going to give you absolutely as much time as we feel like we can. I'm not convinced statutorily that what we're doing here is absolutely required, but we're doing it out of trying to be transparent about it.
Could you expand on that?
Yeah, so the appraisal was done with the correct information, and you have an appeal right, and what we have to get right from an assessment standpoint is a true value in money, and we believe we did that. We believe that after we talked to the appraiser, after I talked to the appraiser at length, he believes that the information that was taken into consideration, again, not to say there may not be an individual mistake due to your particular property circumstances, but based on the information that they used in calculating the tax, they believe that they used the correct information to set your tax value on your parcel based on the neighborhood factor. So again, your tax assessment, we believe, is correct at this point, and the incorrect information was just an error that was put in the manual. And so the goal of the tax assessment is to get the true value in money, is to get what your property is actually worth. And so we believe that with respect to this particular issue, we did that. And what we're doing is trying to be as transparent about it as possible once we realize a mistake, give an opportunity for people to comment on it, go back through the full notice and comment rulemaking. But it's nothing in the statute that specifically requires, to my knowledge, this process. The statute doesn't deal with it directly at all. So you could just deal with it on a one-off basis.
The statute does lay out rules for having the schedule value and giving time for public comment and for people to attend. So I disagree with your comment about it not being statutorily necessary.
Let me be clear about that. Let me be clear about that.
What's the name of the appraisal company that you guys utilized?
Pearson Appraisals.
Pearson Appraisals?
Yeah, and let me be clear about that issue. We could just handle it on an individual by individual appeal basis, right? Everyone who had an error, believes they have an error on the tax card, could come in, challenge, and say, well, this isn't the true value of my property. We believe that we've got the true value of your property. We think that'd be inefficient for you, inefficient for us. And what we're trying to do is have a transparent process that shows you exactly, here is the correct schedule, and here's the one that was an error. Please review it and come in and offer any comment during this process. So again, there's nothing that the statute clearly talks about what's required to adopt a schedule of values. It doesn't talk about when there's a error in the schedule of values, and surely it's not the first time that an error has happened. We're trying to address it straight on, tell you what we found, and tell you how we're going to correct it in a way that gives the public a chance for input.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So with that, members of the board.
Anybody else?
Well, we got the whole center. Anybody on the right-hand side? Okay. This is just about the assessed values. Right, so we're going to get back to the meeting.
So,
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify my little brain here. So the appraisals themselves they used the correct formula. But when we got the book, those last 4 pages were just whatever they were last time that we had an appraisal. They didn't change it to this year's, but they were used the right way. So nobody's taxes will change because of this.
Not because of this issue.
Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Just so we're clear about this, I think one of the questions brought up that we didn't go through the process before. So can you cover with the process we went through to adopt the original? Did we public notice and so forth?
We went through the same process I just described. So what I described was the process for adopting the schedule of values in the first place, which would require the schedule of values being out for public review at least 21 days before the meeting, being publicly noticed in a newspaper having general circulation, being, I believe it's required that it be heard, that have a public hearing at least 7 days before the adoption of the final schedule of values. So this went through a public approval process. There were multiple opportunities for public involvement the first time around. And what we're doing this time around is replicating that process for those 4 pages or 6 pages of the schedule of values. We're replicating that process just so that we go through that same, people have the opportunity to have the same comment on the new information they did on the old information.
Right. Sure.
Sir, I'd like to address your comment. I was made aware of this afternoon about 3 o'clock by the county attorney, and I can assure you I've not spoken to any of my fellow commissioners about this in any formal or informal setting. So, Jim, what time did you call me this afternoon?
I'll tell you exactly. about 3 o'clock, a little after 3.
That was the first time I had heard about it. So there's been no formal or informal conversation among any of the board members. Just to let you know.
Yeah, and just to be further clear on that, when we realized we had a mistake, we had a meeting among staff to determine what the mistake was, make sure we understood the nature and extent of the mistake, and then we came up and made a recommendation for how to fix it. I called the chairman this afternoon, or late, I guess it was this afternoon, about it, told him the plan, got his authorization to tell the other board members what the plan was. There's been no vote on this, so if they don't like the plan, they can change it, they can fire me, they can do whatever they want to, but this is a plan that we believe has the best public transparency on a staff level. We've had extensive conversations between the county manager and I and the tax assessor and I. The 3 of us have talked about it extensively, and we believe this is the best way to move this forward and to own the mistake, give the public a chance to correct on it, to comment on it, and give you a chance to appeal it if you're so inclined.
And just for the record, I got a call the same way Rob did today. That was my knowledge of it.
Same here. I just got a call this evening. We been able to discuss it no more than we just found out this evening.
I got mine at 2:57.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say I appreciate all the questions and I appreciate the response, and it surely has positioned me to be able to respond if I see anyone else who's not here tonight. So thank you so much.
I received a call today, and again, no discussion.
Yeah. If I use the term "we" when I speak of the county, it's like the queen, I suppose. All right, so next item on the agenda is
I'm sorry, can I just say one other thing? And just to be clear, if the other mistakes are found, we're continually reviewing those types of things. If there are additional mistakes that are found that affect a substantial number of taxpayers, they will be addressed publicly as well.
Okay. So back to item number 1, consent agenda. You've all had an opportunity to review these items. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Tony Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Zotis J. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next, we've got our introductions, recognitions, and presentation portion of our meeting. And first, we'll be hearing, make sure I've got this right, from the Library Board of Trustees. So I see the director, Will, if you'll bring your team of trustees down, and whoever we have.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm also the liaison to that board, and I'm very proud of this board. they're just awesome to work with. So thank you for everything they do.
All right, so as you're coming forward, the purpose of this item tonight is to hear an update from the Granville County Library Board of Trustees. And I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. And if you will, please introduce yourselves for the record so we have it.
What did he say?
Introduce yourself.
I'm Juanita Rogers. I'm the chair of the Library Board of Trustees.
I'm Karen Alley. I'm vice chair and secretary of the Library Board of Trustees.
And I'm Will Robinson, the director of the library system.
Okay.
You want to just back and forth?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So we've prepared a presentation. On the screen right now, you can see the list of the other Board of Trustee members that weren't able to be here tonight. And then if you go to the next slide, we'll start with some Granville County Library System statistics. This compares fiscal year 22 to 23 and goes over library visits. In 2022, we had 103,708. That's increased to 139,752 visits for the most recent fiscal year we've completed. Registered users has increased from 10,432 to 12,183. Children's materials circulating 16,670, and that's increased to 19,066. Total circulation has increased from 114,557 to 125,876.
Okay, the next slide. You'll notice those statistics. Meeting room attendance was 297, and you see that has increased to 504. Total programming attendance, 4,558, and it increased to 13,108. Total programs from 340 to 674. Summer reading registrants, 324, and it increased to 382.
You want me to chime in?
Sure.
We're on minutes read, right? Yeah. All right, so minutes read in 2022 was 41,320, and it increased to 64,920. The only real decrease we had this year was reference questions answered, 19,711, went down to 17,444. Website visits increased a lot from 34,000 to 56,000, almost 57,000. Wireless internet sessions, 38,500 to 41, almost 42,000. Public computer usage, 11,600 to 15,700. So you can see there's been a big increase in our stats from the following year. Also, we wanted to talk about what the board, they're in charge of the Memorial Fund. So this is going to be an update on what we did with the Memorial Fund this past year. Do you want to go ahead and talk about that?
Okay, in the past year, the support from the Memorial Fund was for an annual shelf competition. I think this is a program that was spearheaded by Amy. Was this Amy's?
Right, the Children's Library.
Right,
This is just an example of one of the programs that we had during summer reading, but we got money from the Memorial Fund to
each year to help, have more programming, and maybe about $4,000 from the Memorial Fund each year to help bring in really good programs and being able to get people in.
And I can say, as a Granville County parent of school-age children, this is really a great way to engage kids and get them interested in keeping up those school skills over the summer. My kids really have enjoyed the programming.
And there's always an overflow of kids in this program, so they truly enjoy it.
You want to talk about the historical marker?
Next slide, please.
So this is another thing that the Memorial Fund that the board controls paid for this year. Go ahead.
And that was the Grammar Street Color Library, which existed from 1942 to 1975. The amount coming out of the Memorial Fund was $2,720. If you have not been by to see this marker, I would encourage you to do so. It's very visible and very nice. There was a ceremony held and was well attended by the public. This was also in honor of Mrs. Maud Lassiter, who served as the librarian there for many, many years.
Right, and this was in partnership with the First Baptist Church. They actually brought this project to us, and we helped pay for it. You want to talk about the next one?
Sure. Okay. So one of the major projects that the library's been working on over this past year is collecting the oral history of Edward McCoy, and there's now published bound volumes in the library for anybody to use as a resource.
Yeah, these are things that he collected, interviews that he collected over 50 years of Granville County black citizens. So it covers people who had probably been alive at the beginning of the century, things like that. I mean, it covers people who had been through the civil rights, and very important. And I thought it was quite a worthwhile project for us to have these oral histories bound and put into the North Carolina room. All right, next is focus areas in the next year. Do you want to talk about this?
Okay, the focus areas for the next year will be early literacy, digital inclusion, food security, any special projects or partnerships that is fit for the program. And I just want to say that one that really stands out here, especially when it comes to the community, not excluding the other projects, but one was the food security program. We'll talk about that a little more.
Yeah, we got a big grant, federal grant this year that hasn't happened in the libraries for, I don't know, maybe 20 plus years. And this was helped us get refrigerators for 3 of the libraries where we put fresh produce from different farms and from ACIM. So big thanks to ACIM over there, Sue. And people just call every week, just like, is there going to be food? There's going to be food. So it goes very quickly. During the winter, we don't really have much things from the farms, but when the spring comes back, we're going to have more of those connections built back up. But yeah, that's been a big hit.
Yeah, I just think we've been really good at, to brag, we've been really good at like expanding what you traditionally think of as a library. Like it's not just about, the exchange of information. It's about building community and serving each other.
Yeah, certainly a community hub.
We wish that we've had more time to really explain some of the programs that we have there and some things that we have, such as the sensory carts and so forth. So if you have not seen them, come by and take a visit.
Yeah, the library is definitely doing some really innovative things. I'm really proud to be a part of the board.
See, Commissioner May has a question. Commissioner May?
Questions?
Hey, good evening. I've got a few questions, if you don't mind. Please explain digital inclusion.
Digital inclusion is, since most everything has gone from, people used to do their turn in, if they wanted a job, they'd have to fill out an application and turn it in person. But some people don't have the skills now. Most everything is online. So we're trying to get people ready to be able to cross that digital divide, to be able to be a part of society, because if you don't have these skills to make an application, to fill out, your Medicaid forms, or to fill out, anything, any kind of benefit or something you could make use of, you really need to have these skills. And we're partnering with Granville County Schools for a digital inclusion grant, which is a really big grant, which should be a big help. And we're going to be able to use some of their interns and some of the Chromebook carts that they get that kids can use, or even anybody in the library can use.
That was going to be one of my other questions, how you're partnering with public schools. Just two more questions, Chairman. How do you, the Carolina room, it's crowded. What are we working on?
Well, we just got 750 books from the Genealogical Society. We're working on getting some extra shelving. Some of the books are actually copies of things we already have. We need to make sure that we can figure out, what doesn't need to be on that space. And sometimes we can trade with other libraries for things that we don't have. So that's how we're dealing with that right now. But there's also some other books coming. There's going to have to be extra shelving. It's just an ongoing project because these books just kind of landed on us right now. So, but the North Carolina room, I used to be a North Carolina room librarian. It's certainly a huge part of the community. It's not going to suffer. It's going to grow. It's going to have room for these books, and it's going to improve.
My final question was, how many books does the library remove a year?
A year? I can give you those.
And the purpose of removal?
Oh, a removal and weeding. Well, weeding is a very controversial process always. If a book hasn't been checked out 5 years, it usually will get removed unless it's a literature book or something that's used in the schools or some sort of, also anything that is outdated nonfiction books. Like you don't want outdated medical books. You don't want anything like that in the library. So when I came, the place hadn't been weeded for over a decade. So the books were just packed with books that were, falling apart, that were out of date. They were not really serving the community. So it's just kind of an ongoing process. The numbers vary, but we did a lot just because at one time, because everything was just so stacked and it was just kind of outdated.
So you kind of have a set criteria as to what to remove.
It's a very set criteria. Yeah. Actually, we paused weeding now for indeterminate future, just to So we need to build back the shelves with new things that didn't fit on there before.
Any opportunity for the public to take possession of books that you're discarding? What actually?
Oh, yeah.
So how does that work?
The books some of them go to the Friends of the Library, which they go into their book sale. Some books that aren't sold at the Friends of the Library are just put onto free shelves that people can just pick up, look through. Some are sold by our little bookshelf that we have beside the front desk. Books that are, are out of date or falling apart, they are actually, you have to tear off the cover and they are actually destroyed. But we try to get all the books circulated into the community that we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Will.
Sure, thank you.
Commissioner Kozak?
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say, I remember when this county made a tremendous investment in our library facilities. And today, as I sit and listen, I'm not only proud of the facilities, but the programs that we have. And I want to thank you for that. If Smart Start can be of any assistance in the early literacy focus, please let us know. We'd be happy to partner in any way we can. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight.
I just, again, I'm very proud of the board, the library employees, the library in itself. I used to work there a long time ago, and that's just one of my favorite places to be. So thank you.
And I certainly enjoy having you as our liaison to the board. So thank you, Stan.
We appreciate y'all coming out tonight. Is right side, y'all good? Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. It was always informative and good to hear from our folks in our departments. Thank you for serving as trustees to that our wonderful library system.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, next we've got the Granville County Recreation Master Plan. And you're going to have to help me with your name, please.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Oh, hey, Karina.
I'll help you, I hope. She may have to correct me. 2017 was the last time the county updated its Recreation Master Plan, and Commissioners recognized the need to update the plan based on significant demographic and socioeconomic changes in the county. Following a request for qualifications and a selection process, Granville County contracted with Adams Company to update and create the Granville County Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Master Plan. Work began in fiscal year 2022. It involved extensive research, site visits, surveys, public engagement meetings, joint meetings between the Recreation Advisory Committee and this Board of Commissioners, as well as meetings with other key stakeholders. The resulting plan will guide the expansion and development of new parks and greenways in Granville County over the next decade. This evening we have Ms. Shweta Nanekar, the Parks Planning Practice Lead with McAdams Company, who will present the draft plan for your review.
Welcome.
Great, thank you, Karina. Good evening, County Commissioners and Town Manager. Great to have you all here. Can you hear me well? Move it a little bit further. All right, great. My name is Shweta Nanekar. As Karina said, I'm the Parks Planning Practice Lead at McAdams and here to present the update on the Parks Recreation Greenways Master Plan to you all. Next slide, please. So the quick agenda here, we will share the project goals, go through the project process that we have been through in the past year, share the key takeaways from our site assessments and research, and community engagement, and then we'll share some highlights from our recommendations and action plan. Okay. So the goals that we established at the beginning of the process included replacing the previous Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and then update the parks recommendations, making sure that they are rooted in the community values, understanding how the community has changed over the years. Plan for the future by addressing changed needs and desires of the community, address the recreation gap across the system, and then ensure that we are caring for what we already have in the system. We want to ensure that we are also qualifying for future state and federal grant opportunities through this master plan. So quick snapshot of the project process. As Karina explained here, we went through research, extensive research about the county system, had several community engagement touch points, and then we shared guiding principles with you all, recommendations and action items. And today we are here to share the final master plan findings with you. So just a quick takeaways from the demographics assessment through our projections analysis. As you all know, the county is growing and changing. Demographics is changing here. The community is also aging. There is trend towards more aging seniors, which also gives us an opportunity to address the mobility assistance and also addressing the special needs population through this process. The median household income for the community is increasing, which means that there will be a higher demand from the community for evolving trends in the recreation amenities. But it also means that people who need support and who cannot afford the programs will be also considered through this process. Slide. So we conducted site assessments throughout the county. We visited all of your parks. The two main ones, the Wilton Slopes and Granville Athletic Park. These are just two parks, but have several diverse amenities that provide recreation opportunities for residents. The county has developed successful partnerships with local municipal agencies to enhance and supplement the recreation experience across the system. All of the parks that we visited are very well loved and very well cared for. Great maintenance and management that happens on these facilities, which also creates a need for ongoing investment and making sure that the aging infrastructure gets replaced regularly so people can enjoy the high quality of experiences. The county provides ongoing support for nonprofit and community facilities, which also provides an opportunity for residents to access these facilities and enjoy the recreation. Through community engagement, we reached out to many residents through the system. We attended your special events. We conducted a teen council workshop, conducted open houses through last year, and heard several comments from the public, understanding their needs and desires, what they want to establish and accomplish through this planning process. So next slide, please. So all of these research and community engagement findings led us to develop three key themes: balancing the recreation needs and desires of the communities in the rural area, as well as the growing parts of the county; developing countywide connected park system that connects people to recreation, people to people, and people to nature; and then creating a thriving county-wide system of parks, greenways, and open space through a multifaceted approach. So we'll take a look at some of the key recommendations that we have developed through this plan. The first one is making sure that we have a balanced geographic distribution of parks across the county. And the key action items included in the plan include provide recreation options in the southeastern part of the county, to provide park access in the growing parts of the county, provide recreation options in the northwest corner of the county to provide access to socially vulnerable population and areas with higher health vulnerability, acquire 30 to 100 acres of parkland over a period of next 10 years to ensure that we are correcting the gaps, the geographic gaps that are existing within the county, And then through this plan, we want to ensure that the county recreation funds, provide county recreation funds and pursue grant funding for new amenities that have low barriers to entry and expand the user base. So this is just the beginning of the implementation plan. These recommendations will be implemented over a period of next 10 years. So the county should continue to really looking forward to next steps on how to find these opportunities, continue to involve the community when these implementations are considered over the 10 years. Next slide, please. So countywide connected park system. So this is related more to the greenways plan development. Improve and enhance regional, countywide, and local connectivity through the development of greenways and trails. County already does great job with connecting with the local jurisdictions. So continue to do the collaboration with interjurisdictional collaboration to improve the countywide network of greenways. Continue regional collaboration to advance the development of Great Trails State Network in Triangle and Tar regions. Continue to coordinate with county planning and zoning to ensure that the greenway infrastructure recommendations are incorporated in the new developments. Next slide. Creating a thriving parks recreation open system means also investing in your parks department. So hire a parks and recreation director to oversee and coordinate all of the parks and recreation operations. Transfer the oversight of parks and grounds division under the new parks director. Start building a dedicated team for parks and recreation. So going back to the previous recommendation where you will be investing in new parks, new amenities, new greenways, investing in the organization will help proactively build the human resources under and a team who's dedicated to that work. If funding is an issue, this can be also, the county can start looking at the local colleges and university interns, part-time positions to build and fill those positions. Also provide dedicated staff to track outside funding through grants and other avenues to reduce the burden on county funding. Again, under the Thriving Parks Recreation Open Space, creating a positive economic impact by attracting visitors from outside of the Granville County. County already does special events and programs, just advertising them and making sure that you're attracting visitors, continue to do that to create that generate more economic impact. Leverage the county's local businesses and employment centers to promote new and innovative special events. Continue to coordinate with Granville County Tourism Development Authority, East Coast Greenway Alliance, and other organizations to develop that economic impact, and also developing new greenway corridors will also help with that economic impact. Next slide. There's one more, I think, on the previous one. Oh, yeah, that one, yes. Continue to invest in the existing recreation amenities through capital investment planning to ensure that the high quality experiences are maintained. And under that, establish life cycle replacement schedule for all existing amenities, including playgrounds, evaluate deferred maintenance needs, and address those needs regularly. And then also continue to develop new partnerships and volunteerism so that you have sense of ownership from the community who is here to enjoy these spaces. Develop partnerships that benefit the county as well as the community organizations. Identify staff resources to develop and implement volunteer program, and ensure that the track and evaluate the economic value of those partnerships and volunteers. So that's my last slide, and I really want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to present these recommendations. Thank you so much.
Okay. Commissioners, if you have any questions while we have.
Someone, I don't want to go first again.
I will. First of all, I want to thank you because this is one of my other committees. But this committee works very hard. Sometimes we have some people that don't agree with this person or that person on what needs to be. But we have a lot of people and a lot of input on the different parks that we need and how we can help the citizens of Granville County. And so thank you for doing this research for us and helping us get a better park system going.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'd just like to say thank you, because you can look around and see all the different parks all around, all over the county and in different areas, and more greenways. I think when you first started, they said we're going to be able to go from the southern end of the county to Clarksville. We're looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner May.
Thank you. Thanks for you did. I want to look at the do you have the overall document? I want to look at section 2:15, and I was puzzled by your findings. We have the gap in the Butner Athletic Park, which is not the county. The county only runs two, which is the gap and Wilton Slopes. When I looked at the trends, the national trends, I don't see anything regarding athletic fields, soccer, baseball, football, softball. And Mr. Cummings, can you show that picture? The picture I sent you? And it's because I have concerns that all these activities are great, but we have children playing on ad hoc fields. And to look at this big map of all these recreational facilities, it's great. And the county does provide grants and so forth to them. But at the end of the day we've got two and only one that is truly ours. And so that picture you see, and that's Highway 56, that's where our young kids in my community play baseball. And I appreciate the person allowing us to use that field, but I want to see more emphasis in this document on a lot of the things that we do in this county. We do walking and hiking and things of that nature. But when I see, and I get a lot in this county, and I go almost all the athletic facilities that we have in this county, I see kids on fields or ad hoc fields or trying to find fields. And so I just don't feel like overall that this addressed that. And it did point out that there was a need in the southeast. It also pointed out that 20-mile gap or 20-minute gap and issues and concerns with there. And it pointed out the population centers and so forth. But I just felt like how I envisioned this was that we were looking at a plan that would take what we're doing in the county and how we can enhance what we're doing in the county, and without emphasis on all the other little things we're touching. Because if you look through that, and there's another page in here, when it shows us, I don't have it in front of me, but I think altogether, the small number of athletic fields county-wide, and access, county, you might be a resident of the county and you can sign up to go inside and play in the gym in Creedmoor, but you're gonna have to pay for it. And so things like that is what that I was hoping that we'd see how we can bridge that. Maybe I didn't read it thoroughly enough. Maybe I'm missing points. I know that they got a great board and they do a lot of good work, but that's a real stopper for me because I remember multiple conversations from the very beginning and then during it that I pointed out we don't have what I'm seeing that a lot of our families, now we've got an older population, and I get that. But when's the last time you've seen an adult recreation softball league in this county? Things like that. They go on other places. They happen other places. And I don't want them to go outside our county and do it, but they're having to do it. And so that's my comments. I do appreciate the work. And I know that putting this together is not an easy task, but I wanted to give you my honest assessment, and I could have missed the mark some as well, but thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Commissioner May. In north end of the county, northwest end of the county, well, if we had to come to Oxford to play ball, bring our children to play t-ball, we're gonna pay twice as much. And so, looking at softball fields, soccer fields, and areas that we can go ahead and bring our young folks, our children down to Oxford to pay double. In the northern end of the county, we need to appreciate that. Play basketballs or whatever. Please look at all of it.
Yes, thank you for that comment. I can maybe give you a little bit of explanation on the local recreation trends that we have that you mentioned just now. That data comes from Esri Market Potential Index, which is essentially they're looking at where people are spending most money that is related to recreation. And so the way they show up is based on the dollar figures of how much people have spent money.
You make a good point there, but it goes to our county and the nature of our county, understanding our county, is that we don't have retail that serves a lot of athletics. That's one. Two is it talks about the lack of apathy toward recreation. I don't think you can do that when you're not including these in the category, because I actually feel as if there is a robust appetite for that. So it's a good point, and I actually, again, this is not my expertise by no means. So please don't look at me like I'm not a park and recreation expert by no means. But I did a lot of playing and a lot of with a lot of kids, a lot of coaching, and I know that we've got some things that we're working on in regards to working with the school system, enhancing athletic facilities and things of that nature. But from a county perspective, I'm glad we can help our municipalities with grants and things, but I really want us to focus on taking care of the unincorporated area to a more degree and having things that bring larger number of people to locations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other commissioners? So I also wanted to point out we've got a couple members of our recreation Parks Greenways Recreation Advisory Council members that are here tonight, including our chairman in the back over here and another member on my right as well. So I appreciate y'all coming out on this evening. And I know that we've had these exact same conversations at the Parks Greenways Recreation Advisory Committee meetings as well. So we've got a recommendation from county administration to adopt the Granville County Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Master Plan as presented by McAdams and Company. And remember, this is a living, breathing document that we are going to be pulling items from and accelerating, and some are going to be tweaked as they go. So
I'll make that motion.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman, and may I just ask, I appreciate you mentioning this will be a working document. From time to time, I am approached about maybe the addition of basketball even at the gap. And so I think the diversity that Commissioner May mentioned, Commissioner J, as we go along, we'll still be able to make those kind of comments and suggestions along the way. So I'll second with that understanding.
I looked at the plan, and I mean, it hits the marks where we want to go from a planning purpose, but the narrative just didn't fit for me. And so a number of things in the narrative did not fit for me. So I'm agreeable if we use it as a guide, but not as a principal document that we feel as if we have to adhere to, or a guiding principle, or a shining light, because there's some dullness in here that we have to correct.
Right. All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Hinman, a second by Commissioner Kozart. We've already began the discussion. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, sir.
And public comments. So each speaker will have 3 minutes this evening as we come forward for public comment. And please state your name and address for the record. And our first speaker tonight is Mr. Brad Oldenburg.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, County Manager, Brad Oldenburg, 6588 Huntsboro Road, Oxford. First off, I'd like to say for folks who are waiting for high-speed internet, it is coming. I live on Huntsboro Road out by the airport. The original plan, as I saw on the maps, had it stopping about 2,000 yards short of my residence. And much to my surprise and happiness, about 4 weeks ago, they went scurrying right by, laying fiber all the way to the county line. So it wasn't but another week later where I got the calls about getting hooked up. A few bumps later, it is up and it's live, and it's coming. So thank you to the members of the county who helped make that work, where the grants come from the county, city, or the state and the feds. And thanks to Spectrum for making that happen, and hope it rolls out as quickly to the rest of the county as well, or as much of the county as we can get. And it is a good service. Secondly, I wanted to talk a little bit about early voting. I attended a meeting last week with the Board of Elections on Thursday. They were doing a vote count, and I had some questions for them about early voting. One of the questions was, which they answered quite quickly, was who's responsible for establishing the timelines for early voting? And I was told that's the state legislature. So I have some questions for our county representatives about that, about in terms of how long it is and that type of stuff, because I think most people think it's too long. I certainly do. Want to talk to them about that. And then secondly, I had questions about why there's no early voting in the northern part of the county. We all know we have voting in Oxford, and we have voting in 2 locations in the southern part of the county, but nothing up north. So my understanding is that they have had a few meetings and discussions, and have identified some obstacles to the voting in the north. One was a suitable location. I mentioned perhaps Stovall Library, because that's where we have general elections in the fall. One of the obstacles they said for there was it doesn't have suitable wired internet. So imagine my surprise knowing that we didn't have suitable wired internet at one of our county libraries. So hopefully we can look into that. The reason it's necessary is because early voting, they need access to all the voter rolls, not just the rolls from within a precinct like during the general election. So they do need internet for that. Of course, the general election, there's no internet into the locations. Secondly, parking for drive-up voting. They made a statement that we might need more voting machines, more workers and the like. And of course, maybe if we shorten the early voting, maybe that can help out with some of the cost. I didn't walk away thinking that they were overly enthusiastic about expanding up north and pursuing solutions. They did state that any additional funding would have to come from the county commissioners. I didn't ask if they had come to you with a plan or whatnot for it. So, you know, perhaps I don't have any illusions that fall is going to happen, but maybe in the future. Lastly, I want to relate a quick story and a statement that left me a little in shock. When I told my story about when I campaigned for commissioner 2 years ago, knocked on about 1,000 doors, especially in the northern part of the county, and almost to a man and a woman, people asked the same question: why don't we have early voting in the north? And a comment that I got from the Board of Elections chair, Ms. Sharon Alvarez, was, and I quote, "They have election day to vote." So imagine my surprise when we're talking about early voting. Everybody likes early voting, everything else, but when I made or asked the question or made the statement about no early voting in the northern part of the county, she literally said they have election day to vote. My only response was, well, that argument could be used for the whole county and not just the northern part of the county. So I'll leave you with that. Hopefully we can get that resolved, and I'll look forward to working with you to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we've got Lynn Dennis. And in about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, I'll hold up this yellow. And then when we get to the 3 minutes and 15 seconds, after we're past the 3-minute mark, the clerk will hold up the red.
My name is Lynn Dennis. I live at 101 East Thorndale Drive in Oxford. I'm here to address the board in reference to the early voting in Oxford. Particularly, I have 4 of the girls with me. We are paid a flat rate of $25, and that covered 5 to 6 hours of work for just this early voting. On other early votings, we have no problem with the $25 flat setup fee, but when you compute that and divide $25 by 6, you see how much we got paid an hour. And we're trying to appeal to y'all to see if there is any monies left that can go to the ones that help set up early voting. And when I say it was 5 to 6 hours, I don't mean we're sitting around doing nothing. It took a lot, 179 ballot styles, so you have to count every one. We had 11,000 ballots we had to count starting. So that was what I wanted to appeal to you, that it was so important and so hard to find workers this time. It's been almost impossible. I'm down 1, so we're going to have to somehow try to double up and get all sites in our particular cradle. You know, it's got to be covered tomorrow. So we're only here for a short time. We're leaving. We got to go to bed and get up at 4:30. And the other thing I wanted to address was we also need internet where we are at Early Voting Oxford. I mean, we have to use our personal cell to call and get information about voters, about precincts, and we really could use internet down there. I mean, we really need it, especially for voting and, you know, early voting. That's a lot of time that we have to call, use our cell phones, you know, call Tanya. And we could look it up, and we do have to end up looking it up. You can't always get Tanya, you know. So that was what we came here to address, to see if there's some way that money can be found to raise that limit for just this one time, since we covered so much time and 179 ballots.
Perfect. Made it within the time. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Appreciate what you do for the Board of Elections.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could briefly respond, we do have set hourly rates for part-time election workers. I'm not really sure why they're not being applied on an hour-for-hour basis, and I'm happy to check in on that. I also wanted to point out that commissioners approved higher hourly rates for election workers this last year, in part to recognize, A, the work being put in, and B, that for $9 or $10 an hour, which was the previous hourly rate, we couldn't really expect to get very many people signing up for that. So I'm happy to check in on why it's not being applied on an hour-for-hour basis, and also look into the question about internet at the site.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So was that setup crew specific that you were talking about? It was like a blank one-time?
The one time for just this election.
Okay.
I mean, this is a 25 setup fee, period. That started before it was not that. And then with this election taking so much time to prepare for, that was all we were looking for. $25 for 5 or 6 hours, that was just outrageous.
Right.
You're talking about the last Wednesday, right?
Right. The whole,
Right.
Wednesday before early voting started. And so that would be 3 sites, early voting. I'm speaking for ours particularly, but it would cover all 3 sites.
Oh, okay. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Michael Smith? Who? Is it Michael Smith? How about at Brass Valley Lane? Oh, excuse me, Bragg Valley Lane. Is it not Michael Smith?
Yeah.
Michael Smith, okay. Sorry, there was commotion in the room. It's difficult to hear when folks are moving around.
Hello, I'm Michael Smith. I live at 3557 Bragg Valley Lane. A concern I'd like to bring forward to the commissioners is the proposed tax increase. I understand the valuation and our home values have increased, fortunately, I guess. Not so fortunately, some of us have seen, I've personally seen over a 60% increase, which I understand we can go in and appeal the evaluation. My bigger concern is I'm retired. I'm on fixed income. Most of the people, a lot of the people I should say in my neighborhood are retired on fixed income. We moved here specifically because it was supposed to be a place, one we wanted to live in, the community we wanted to live in, the atmosphere we want to live in, but also I fled Northern Virginia because of taxes. And suddenly I'm seeing the same kind of thing I saw in Northern Virginia, where there was unimpeded, no limit to the amount of taxes that could go up on property taxes. So I would urge the commissioners to be very careful in establishing the tax rate, because I don't know what my taxes are going to be yet, because I don't know what that multiplier is going to be for the actual tax rate. And if it's the same as it is today, I'm seeing a 60% increase on my property taxes. Now, I'm getting pretty close to what it was in Northern Virginia. And we don't have near the facilities and the other things that are available to us that we had available in Northern Virginia that we had to pay for. So I wouldn't expect to have that kind of tax increase. So I urge the commissioners to be very careful in how much you raise it, where you set this tax rate, because it will impact on us. It will impact our ability to live and maintain our lifestyle as we envisioned when we moved down here. And I'd hate to have to look at doing what I had to do there. I moved down here to flee the high taxes and live a comfortable life after 28 years in the military and extensive time in industry. And I don't want to have to leave this location as well because of high taxes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I could respond briefly, I think this is a good opportunity for kind of doing a little public information. As you heard earlier, North Carolina statute requires the periodic revaluation of property.
right, to as close to market value as we can get. And obviously, this is an unusual reval for Granville County. We were on typically, historically, an 8-year reval cycle, and values didn't change all that much, and so it didn't matter all that much. And we've been at the 84 cent per 100 valuation for a long time. Clearly, this is a really unusual real estate market that we have found ourselves in on the edge of the triangle. And the average appreciation of real property in Granville County since 2018 is approximately 80%. And so that's just what the market is doing in Granville County. North Carolina law is also helpful for citizens in the way that it requires Granville County government to publish, as we get closer to adopting next year's budget, to publish what's called a revenue neutral tax rate. So to let the community know what tax rate at these much higher values, what tax rate would give the county the same revenue as we got in the current year that we're in, for example. And so that will be published. As in any year, statute gives commissioners the authority to ultimately set the tax rate wherever they deem it most appropriate. But I think that it is quite likely that a significant drop in the tax rate will come as part of this revaluation, and it is even conceivable, now I don't know again the specifics of your property, that at that adjusted property rate, even with a 60% appreciation on your property, you might pay lower property taxes next year than you paid this year. That's entirely possible. And so it is kind of complicated, but the way that state statute prescribes this for us, but I think it's important. I appreciate you raising the question and creating an opportunity to clarify, because I think we as a county administration can't repeat that often enough to help people understand what is legitimately a fairly complicated set of calculations and adjustments. Does that help a little bit?
Just to state what I already knew.
Okay.
The concern, of course, is what is it going to be? Because, it's revenue neutral, we understand that, but we have no idea what that really means until we see the actual tax bill. That's true.
That's a true statement. I appreciate your concern and the opportunity to at least share some clarifications for some people who aren't as up to speed on the tax rules as you are.
Okay. Katie Selgreen?
Tax related.
Okay, thank you. Sandra Bishop.
Good evening. Sandra Bishop, 1535 Trailwood Drive, Creedmoor, North Carolina. I am here to discuss the property taxes, the revaluation. But since Attorney Wren already discussed part of it, I'm going to just pivot a little bit. I received my 2018 Honda Accord revaluation, or the tags renewal, and it was a $6,200 increase for a vehicle that was purchased 4 years ago. So we're back to the cost of the vehicle at the time of purchase. That's just one thing. You go over to the property tax side. It's a 27-year-old modular, 104% increase in property tax value. You have my property record card has changed 5 times since January the 1st, 4 times since February the 24th. One of those resulted in a roughly $8,000 difference. You have the square footage rate increased 71%. The depreciation factor was 60% last year. This year it's 75%. That's a net increase of 15% in tax value. Next, regarding the neighborhoods, I'm attached to something called Southeast Average. One of those changes of the 4 since February 24th, modified me to southeast excellent. I would like to know how a neighborhood is determined, whether it is excellent, marginal, good, or average. Number one. Number two, is there a map of these neighborhoods that are not, say, Golden Pond or Paddington? You know, these southeast, northwest, all these different odd neighborhoods. And that's my questions.
So I don't know if the tax administrator can address any of these in a general way, but I think these sound like good questions for an individual kind of appeal and consultation with the tax office, and I'm sure that they would be willing to help answer questions. But I think some of your ideas about a map and other things are good ideas.
Okay. So tonight's meeting is like a Twilight Zone thing. We went off script out of the gate, and we wound up in a question answer period, which we don't normally do. We receive your comments, and then the manager will refer them to the appropriate things, and we'll get back to you later.
Yep.
But we got into a actual on-the-spot answer period at this point, so. But I would suggest that you call the tax administration department. So next person we've got is Jesse DeVede.
Jesse Dobby, 1100 Lake Ridge Drive. I'm going to get in some of this tax stuff too for you guys, just so you know, just so people are aware. My neighborhood is going up about 213%, so you know, feel good if you're not in that range. What I don't see in your adapted code, the 2024 manual, is any explanation of these land classifications. We have a lot of plots around us that are about an acre in many different neighborhoods, and that land classification that doesn't describe anything to tell you how you know you're described as that land classification can vary. I've seen a lot be appraised at $105,000. I've seen a lot appraised at $35,000. I mean, the values in the manual itself for 72 A through X is from $13,500 to $91,000 per acre. I know that there are some areas like off of Hayes Rose and stuff like that that have a lot more acreage than us, that are closer to Creedmoor, closer to these amenities, and I've seen values, you know, $130,000 for 9-10 acres, $212,000 for 30 acres, something like that. It's just, there's no explanation as to why this is happening, and there's also no explanation as to when you guys did that schedule previously, the schedule of values, how you determine the neighborhoods and areas to be the certain numbers that they are. And since you guys have just proven to us that you can amend this after the fact, I would highly suggest you go through and amend your manual to show description so people can use the manual to value their property and see if they're taxed appropriately. Because I believe it says at the very beginning that one of the intentions of the manual itself is to give the property owner the ability to assess whether or not they were taxed correctly. And we don't have that as of right now. Something else, the tax assessment that PRC guys sent out actually has an inflated adjustment for structures for a lot of people. It reflects what you guys are saying is the actual neighborhood adjustment, but why is it put into the structure value? It doesn't have a line item or anything else in order to explain it. Literally just goes from here's your valued number, and then directly below it in the same box in a bold letters, it says here's your structure value. It just jumps. Okay. So then what we saw was the adjustment as well that you guys, somebody had happened over the weekend, and it put people into a specific number as far as their neighborhood adjustment goes. Okay. And what has happened is they kept the card value, the total card value, that's the value of your land, your miscellaneous other items, and your structure all added together, right? They gave you the card value, that's your taxable value. Well, you guys went in afterwards and adjusted a number to multiply what you said is our neighborhood adjuster that makes no sense. It doesn't add up to anything. It's literally just a pencil whip number. And that's kind of scary. That means somebody went in there and purposefully changed it without any justification as to what's going on. And it's because of those reasons and the mess up with everything else that has happened that I think the people here, as far as this tax reeval goes, would like a cease on the reevaluation immediately. There needs to be a public announcement to disclose the discrepancies to the public as to what happened. There needs to be an extension to the whole reevaluation process and a full audit of this appraisal company to find out what happened. There needs to be then a public announcement with a full accounting of what happened and the corrective actions being taken and who was responsible for the errors and how we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. I think a lot of us, based on what we're seeing right now, would like a new appraisal team as well, because I don't trust this company with as many errors as they've made in the short period of time that we've been dealing with this. I also would think that it would be appropriate to have a no payment with taxpayer money to this appraisal team whatsoever, and there needs a public announcement publication with the new timeline for the reevaluation and the new appeal deadline.
I have Julie Brooks, please. Thank you. Tim Carolyn?
You've answered my questions tonight.
Thank you. All right. Michaela? Carolyn? You're good? Okay. And then Skrigorovich, JC, you have more?
Hi, JC Georgiev, 1174 Smith Creek Way. Being in real estate in an assessment year, I've received multiple calls from longtime residents of Granville County with land in a range of 4 acres up to 90 acres, concerned about their reassessed values. The trend surprised me until I started my competitive market analysis and immediately noticed a trend. I ask that you look into if the appraiser used recent sales of land for major subdivisions. That is not a like-for-like comparison. I reached out to an appraiser to confirm that terms of sale should always be in the site addendum for adjustments. Tax records and deeds show if an LLC or developer purchased the property. It should always be mentioned so as not to falsify based on terms of sale. A developer will pay more for large parcels because they have financial gain. These types of properties are rezoned as major subdivisions and should not be used as a comparable for a rural residential property or rural agricultural property. I understand that appraising for tax purposes is difficult, but they know these general rules. These rules were clearly not followed in many cases. I hate to think that Granville County, sorry, I hate public speaking, I'm like shaking. I hate to think that Granville County would chase out family-owned farmers and rural homeowners that are on a fixed income with inherited land, all because they were trying to squeeze as much tax revenue as they could. I would also like to point out that you cannot put the cart before the horse. We have no amenities or infrastructure. We are a rural community with arguably high tax rate. The schedule of values were put in place, and actually I'm going to forego that because you guys answered that, so hopefully that changes. But appraisers use structure to structure comparables and land to land comparable. You cannot say that a land has more or less value depending on structure built, or that land when you have already increased the value of the structure itself. Meaning you cannot value one subdivision's land at $105,000 per acre and another subdivision's land at $50,000 per acre, 2 miles apart on the same road when they have similar topography features in the same county. It's obvious these values have been padded. When I tried reaching out to the county appraiser, Jerome, I did not get a call back. So I would just ask that you guys please look into this appraisal company and ask these questions, which is why I gave a copy, and make sure that they're answering those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we've got Mr. Griffin, Mark Griffin.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate the opportunity. I come to you tonight. I've had a lot of people talk to me, elderly people in the community, about their tax rate and their tax reevaluation, and they're frightened and they're scared. A lot of these individuals don't have the money now because of inflation to buy and afford their food and gas and other amenities they have. They live in small homes they've lived and worked for all their life. And now with this tax reevaluation on, it's going to really put a big burden on them. I know you say you're going to adjust it to make it neutral. That may not always be the case. And while it may be based on a market value of what you can sell this property for, these people aren't looking to sell anything. They're looking to stay there and leave. I noticed in your paper about your last retreat where your assistant said he wanted to preserve family farms. Reevaluation of this property at these kind of prices is not going to preserve the family farms, sir. It's going to go ahead and destroy it like so many of our family farms in our community have done. Most of y'all lived here a long time like I have. I don't want to see the family farm go away. But people are having to sell them because they cannot afford them. I appreciate it and I implore your wisdom and work on this reevaluation really, really hard so that it doesn't affect people so hard that they're going to lose their homes and have to debate on whether they can buy food or their medicine or pay their taxes. Thank you for your kindness. Appreciate it.
Thank you. But David Randolph.
My questions were answered earlier.
Thank you. And then Mary O'Brien.
Good evening, Mary O'Brien, Chief Marketing Officer of Meridian Waste, 110 Rupert Road, Raleigh, North Carolina. I am here this evening to show my appreciation to you as a board and your county staff for having issued the county's solid waste services RFP back at the end of 2023. We understand that you, as elected commissioners, are the decision makers, and that you are ultimately responsible for the fiscal management of the county. Meridian Waste is here tonight to ask for your approval to negotiate a potential contract to be brought back before the board and the public with Meridian Waste, understanding that dual negotiations with different parties can happen at the same time. But we do ask that you agree to negotiate with us for many reasons. First of all, our proposal was very extensive and met the requirements of the RFP, including brand new equipment, experience, and references. Our proposal offers no change to the existing Oxford landfill permit or the permit's 5-county geographic area for waste acceptance. We offered 2 options for 4, one of those being a lease option that turns a financial liability into a significant new revenue stream for the county. And when I say significant, it is. We heard many needs tonight, whether it's the library, whether it's food security, whether it's athletic parks. In January when I was here, I heard from the sheriff about public safety needs and human services needs. Our proposal offers an $18 million upfront lease fee paid to the county. It guarantees a minimum annual host fee payment of $150,000 to the county to be spent in any way you see fit per year. It assumes all landfill expenses. Currently, you're expending approximately $2 million to $5.7 last year in landfill expenses. This is for operating the landfill, permitting it, constructing it, monitoring it, providing financial assurance for closure and post-closure after the landfill closes, insurance, equipment, and much more. In addition, we guarantee 25 years of disposal capacity, okay? Will be backed by a performance bond. So any fears that there are that the county's landfill will fill up and you won't have any place for your waste to go, we're offering a 25-year disposal guarantee with a financial performance and payment bond to ensure that your citizens' waste has a home. We have a landfill, another landfill approximately a mile north in Lunenburg County, Virginia, that if we needed to, we could build a transfer station and transfer it up there. But we believe we could work with you all to ensure that there's capacity here at your existing facility as well. We have beautification upgrades in our proposal. We would become a new citizen, corporate citizen, offering multiple community events and sponsorships per year. And what I hear is that's something your community is asking for, that they want people to invest in your community. And we have offered a willingness to negotiate a tonnage volume cap that if we can negotiate with you, we would be happy to discuss. This would not become a significantly large landfill. It would be very manageable tonnages, and you in return get the benefit. So in closing, you have the opportunity to take a financial liability to the citizens of this county and turn it into an $18 million cash windfall, plus guaranteed annual revenues, plus guaranteed disposal capacity. Tonight, we are asking for your vote to simply enter into contract negotiations with Meridian Waste. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the end of the folks that had signed up for public comment. Next, we've got a memorandum of understanding for cooperative extension. I said we have Carisha Purrier here this evening. And the purpose of this item is to adopt and update a version of the memorandum of understanding between NC State Extension and Granville County. Drew, are you going to handle this one, or we're going to have Ms. Purrier come up?
Sharice is here. Yep. I think she can update us briefly on that item.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right. This is on, correct? Okay. So NC State Extension is updating our memorandum of agreement. As most of you know, NC Cooperative Extension is a partnership between NC State Extension and Granville County. And the last time our memorandum of agreement was updated was 2006. And so they're updating all the memorandum of agreements across North Carolina with all of our 100 counties. And basically these updates are reflecting updates in our terminology and some of our operational functions. And so I have allowed, our county manager has reviewed it and our county attorney. And so I'm open to any questions that the board may have in reference to the updates.
Does the board have any questions? Okay. MOU, MOA, this is tough stuff.
I know, I keep saying MOU.
Right. Well, it says both on this page. So, seeing no questions from the board, we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve as recommended. Second motion.
We've got a Commissioner Russ May, seconded by Commissioner Tony Kozar, to accept the cooperative extension adopted memorandum of agreement. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we've had a commissioner ask for a bio break. We're going to go ahead and stand in recess before we tackle this solid waste matter. Here, what do you need, Mr. May? 10 minutes?
I could use 10.
10 minutes, so let's call it, just for easy math, 5 minutes of.
Oh, thank you.
We'll stand in recess. 8:56, and we are back in session. And the next item up is, here we go. Page right here. Landfill matters. Sorry. Fun with technology. So Jason Falls, where'd you go? There he is.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, purpose of this agenda item is to review and award a contract for landfill operations. If you can you go down to a few slides? Third slide. Background: on June 5th, 2023, the Board of County Commissioners authorized Garrett and Morton staff to prepare and administer a request for proposals, evaluate proposals, and recommend an award for solid waste operations to become effective July 1st, 2024. RFP for landfill operations was advertised at the end of October 2023, with proposals due December 15th, 2023. Proposal evaluations and interviews of proposers were held between December 2023 and February 2024. Next slide, please. As articulated in this RFP, the primary goals of this RFP were to continue support for local solid waste disposal services, serve residents and businesses with a cost-effective landfill solution, reduce or eliminate environmental liabilities, minimize operating expenses, maximize revenue to the county, find innovative ways to preserve landfill airspace. Next slide, please. Also, to operate the county landfill in accordance with federal, state, and local permits, operate using best management practices, operate the county and the landfill in a manner that maximizes public and service provider safety. Also operate the landfill in the most efficient and cost-effective manner, and that maximizes customer convenience and satisfaction. Also to operate the landfill in a manner, I'm sorry, next slide. Okay, you're ahead of me. Maximize customer convenience, satisfaction, operate landfill in a manner that protects the environment, pollution, with minimal disruption to neighboring residents. Next slide. 3 proposers: Huff Soil Conservation, Meridian Waste, North Carolina, LLC, Wall Recycling, submitted responses that complied with the terms of the RFP, and those proposals were accepted and evaluated. The RFP contained 4 proposals scenarios. Option 1, contract operations of Butner and Oxford facilities with a local waste stream of 50,000 tons annually. Option 2, contract operations of Butner and Oxford facilities with current county waste stream, plus the tonnage increments up to an additional 100,000 tons annually to be solicited by the county. Option 3, operations of Butner Oxford facilities with current county waste stream at Oxford MSW landfill, plus the responder financial incentives for disposal of up to an additional 100,000 tons annually to be solicited by the responder. Option 4, the responder proposal for a purchase agreement of the Oxford Subtitle D landfill, together with a proposal for contract operations of the Butner and Oxford facilities. Next slide. All 3 respondents provided proposals for scenario 1 and 2. Meridian Waste and Wall Recycling provided proposals for scenarios 3 and 4. A summary of the proposals received is included in your budget package tonight. Just some proposal highlights. Option 1, lowest cost proposal, Huff Soil Conservation, $26.40 per ton. Option 2, lowest cost proposal, Huff Soil Conservation, $25 per ton for those amounts over 50,000 tons. Option 3, we received 2 bids, both from Wall Recycling, Meridian Waste. Charge to the county from Wall Recycling was $28 per ton. Paid to the county over 50,000 tons was $40 per ton. Meridian Waste proposed a charge of $36 per ton in county wastes, $23.50 for out of county wastes. And also Meridian Waste proposed to pay the county anything over 50,000 tons at a rate of $32.50. No bid for Huff Soil for option 3. Next slide, I think. Option 4, 2 bids. Again, we had Wall Recycling, Meridian Waste bidding on option 4. Wall Recycling purchase lease lump sum $5 million offer with an annual host fee of $150,000. Proposer Meridian Waste offered an $18 million purchase lease lump sum offer with an annual host fee of $150,000. Next slide, please. So upon evaluations of all proposals, Q&As, and interviews, the review team consisting of Garrett Moore, County Manager and Environmental Services Director, recommended awarding a contract to Huff Soil Conservation Incorporated. Compliant with this RFP process and award followed North Carolina General Statute 143-129.2. In concluding, the recommendation of the County Manager and Environmental Programs Director, with extensive input from the County Attorney and County's landfill consultants, requested the Board determine that Huff Soil Conservation Services proposal is more responsive to the request for proposals that the Board authorizes the County Manager, the Director, the County Attorney, to enter into negotiations for a landfill operations contract with Huff Soil's Conservation Services to begin in the fiscal year 24-25 with the recommended agreement to be brought back to the Board for approval. At this time, I'll take any questions you all may have.
All right, Board, are there any questions? Just for clarification purposes. Currently, how much waste are we generating in the county per year to go to the landfill? Is it in the
50,000 tons per year,
currently?
plus or minus is what we're generating.
And do we take any from outside the county?
We take some. We take maybe a quarter of waste from outside the counties, mostly Vance, Franklin counties are the 2 major.
And how much total tonnage is that? Does that still fall within the 50,000?
Yeah, 50,000 a year. 50,000 a year. With option 1, there's 83 years of landfill life with option 1.
Okay. So with the option 2, 3, and 4, we're talking how many tons per year is allowable under those options?
Was it 150,000 tons per year or more? If option 4 was selected, or we was recommending option 4, you would no longer be in control of it. They could bring in as much as they wanted to.
And that's the same for both companies that bid option 4.
Yeah, you would have no control over it. Of course, you would be, they would be having control of it. The estimated time frame, possibility, the landfill life would potentially reduce down to 25 years.
Yeah. And our concern is the location of the landfill, the traffic going in and out. It's a rural road.
Yes, that is.
My opinion is that I'm not interested in a lot of waste coming in from outside the county. We need to minimize it.
Commissioner Jay, you have a question?
After 25 years, then what happened?
The county would be looking to build another landfill at another location, or looking at the construction of a pretty multi-million-dollar transfer station to transport those wastes to another location.
We're not looking at that. We're not looking at that option.
No. No, I was curious what happened after 25 years. And, we start back in ground 1, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also after the 25 years, the landfill would revert back to the county when it was filled to capacity, and would the county be responsible for the landfill from there on?
I may leave that question to the attorney or Drew.
In a lease situation, it would revert back to the county. In a sales situation, it would remain in private ownership.
Okay. So if it was a private ownership, they would be responsible for closing it down, monitoring it, pulling off any gas, groundwater monitoring around it, also responsible for keeping the leachate pulled out from under the...
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Jason, given the fact that we are expecting a fair amount of growth in Granville County in the next 5 to 10 years, that 50,000 tonnage is only going to increase organically, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And our financial modeling shows that it can pay for itself over the time it's permitted. So.
All right. Commissioners, you have the recommendation from our Environmental Programs Director and the County Manager.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation that we award the contract to Huff Soil Conservation.
Could I briefly interject? I want to remind commissioners that the recommendation is for authority to enter into contract negotiations with Huff Soil Conservation. We're not awarding a contract tonight.
I'll rephrase that to enter into negotiations to award a contract.
Okay.
To see if we can derive a contract that we want to award. Really, it's just authority to enter into contract negotiations tonight.
Okay. Easy enough. Motion. We have our motion from Commissioner Williford, seconded by Commissioner Jay, to enter into contract negotiations with Huff Soil Conservation Services.
And I do have one question on the motion. Is this for option 1 or option 2?
Do you want to take that?
I think where we've decided is to go with option 1 with the flexibility to move into option 2 when those tons arise, when those extra tons come available.
As I understand it, it would essentially be option 2 with pricing over 50,000 tons per year being billed at the option 2 price. Is that an accurate way to describe it? So I believe Mr. Huff had a break point in his proposal so that tonnage up to 50,000
tons per year was priced at one amount, and then there was a lesser amount if it went over 50,000 tons per year.
Okay.
And that would also be at the county's discretion, the amount of the extra tonnage.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jason. I've got the DSS. Okay, we're going to be making an appointment to the DSS, Department of Social Services Board. And it looks... Do we have someone who is...
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we
All
sure
right,
do.
thank you. That's very helpful.
We have Mary Ellen Lindberg, and she will complete our 5-member board, and I'd like to recommend her.
Mary Ellen Lindberg. We got a motion by Commissioner Hinman for Mary Ellen Lindberg.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Commissioner Cozart. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to let you know that after getting this 5-member committee together and getting the new book written by and for DSS's board, we realized that none of the board had been sworn in. So we will be doing that at our next meeting. So we will be swearing everyone in at that time.
Okay. Our next item, okay, good. Got that all worked out for swearing in.
Right.
Good.
It's all worked out.
All right, the next item for business tonight is the Oxford Planning Board extraterritorial member. Does anyone have?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Outstanding.
I'd like to nominate Rob Atkins as a member of the City of Oxford ETJ Planning Board.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Wilford for Rob Atkins.
I'll second that one.
Seconded by Commissioner Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we've got the second Oxford Board of Adjustments ETJ member. Do we have one for that as well? The term of Steve Pruitt expires in February, and that's the District 2 guy.
I ain't got one, have not got one yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
So we'll hold that one. And now we have the Granville County Board of Adjustments, and it looks like, Chairman May, do you have someone for the district?
I do, Chairman. I'd like to nominate Laura Howerton of Brassfield.
I'll second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Wilford to appoint Laura Howerton to the Granville County Board of Adjustments. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. All right. Now we've got appointments at the Granville County Planning Board. The District 5 representative has moved, and also the District 7 member needs to be replaced for resignation. So District 5, do you have a member for that?
Mr. Chairman, I do.
Okay.
Mr. Blaine Holmes of Wilton.
Second motion. Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cozart to appoint Blaine Holmes for the Granville County Planning Board. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next, District 7. Do you have someone for the planning board?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll hold the District 7 appointment. Okay, the Granville County Tourism Development Authority. There's a second hotel owner, a position vacancy, and the TDA is recommending, help me with that one. Panera Serini, who is with the Days Inn and Suites.
I'll make that motion. She's an awesome lady.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to follow the recommendation of the TDA on their appointment. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? What was that? Yes, it was. I apologize for not saying that. All right, County Manager's report. You're up next there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two quick items, one of which is to appreciate the public comment that was brought to us by Mr. Oldenburg tonight. I think that highlights an important process going on around the county right now, which is the rollout of broadband expansion, funded in large part with federal money, but matched in all cases with local investment too. And so that's a commitment that commissioners have made, and the commitment that I've made and that Deputy County Manager Karina Weichel is kind of putting into action is just to make sure that we take maximum advantage of all of the funding available for this. And it's a good thing and a happy thing that we're starting to see the fruits of all that work, that people are starting to get connected to high-speed broadband. Second comment I wanted to make is just a brief reaction to some of the board comments about the recreation master plan. I do think that this plan is a collection of recommendations. There were a lot of public engagement opportunities, a lot of different opinions and priorities expressed by members of the public, including commissioners, but not limited to commissioners. And I think that the eventual investment decisions that this board makes, based on those recommendations and going beyond them, will obviously be made in the context of the other capital and operational needs of the county, and I look forward to that. But I also appreciate all the work that's gone into that document and all of the input that we received from members of the public at the various public engagement events. So I appreciate staff's work on both of those projects, and also commissioner feedback on all those topics as well. That's all I have for this evening.
Mr. Attorney?
I have one matter for executive session for economic development.
Okay, take that at the end. All right, board members. Commissioner May, you're up first tonight.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Just a few quick things here. I'm not used to going first. That's good. Veterans Appreciation Day is this Saturday at 2 o'clock at the Expo Center. And the theme of it is, I am the American flag. And so I hope that each commissioner will come by and stop by, and as well as members of the public. Last week, or within the last 2 weeks, Campo corridor study was officially approved. So again, I publicly thank Mr. Baker and his staff. Again, this is the Highway 56 and 50, also part of 98. It's a part of a large area in southern Granville to include secondary roads, and will be part of the study. A third topic is something, County Manager, I would like to meet with you on, and that is the trash litter problem that we're having in our county. And I discussed this matter with both judiciary and the district attorney. And there is a willingness to prosecute, but the cases must be perfected. In other words, be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not easy when no one saw what happened. And so
With that being said, there's also issues concerning liability. Should someone be convicted and provided community service and necessarily can't go out and do that, the liability is considerable. And so that's another issue. So I would like to look at some other opportunities within education, teaming with maybe Grandville Public Schools, and also looking at some other opportunities in regards to trash and how we deal with it as a county, convenience centers and things of that nature. Maybe there's a way we can look at how we establish something where we don't want everyone driving up and down the road bringing trash to the convenience centers. That's where most of our trash on our roads end up, is people transporting it there. So, and that's all I have tonight. And thank you for the hard work county manager and folks continue to do on the various issues that the county have.
All right, next we got Commissioner Gooch.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, the public comments, and Attorney Wren, I appreciate you going back and forth and trying to answer everyone's questions and do it in a upfront way and do it as best you can. And, you know, speaking of taxes, there are some cases where you can get some reduced taxes, and if you just look for property tax relief on the county website, you'll see there's 3 different programs. The problem is all of these programs have a very low income eligibility, and the county can't change that. We talked about doing a homestead exemption for people over 70 or over 75, and we found out that at the county level can't be accomplished. It has to be done through the state legislature. So not only I, but several other commissioners here have spoke with Representative Sossman about looking into it at the state level and see what we can do about either raising the income levels for the existing programs or putting in a homestead exemption that exempts a certain dollar value of your home from property taxes once you reach a certain age. So, you know, we feel your pain. I'm a taxpayer. I feel the pain. Thankfully I live in Butner where the municipal taxes are low, but still you pay county taxes and the town taxes. So people in Oxford and Creedmoor, they feel the pain as well. So just want to thank everyone for their concern, and hope you realize that we're not against you. We're not trying to set a rate to run anybody out of their home or try to take their property. We want everybody to live here and enjoy the county. Everybody that's here, and hopefully we can welcome more people in the future. Thank you.
Commissioner Jay?
Just like I said, thank you to everyone for everyone made their public comments tonight. Just like to echo Commissioner Gooch, we're not trying to run anybody away from here. We all want to live together, grow old together here in Graham County. I also just like to Mr. Goldenberg mentioned about those 15 days of early vote at the polls, early voting, but being it too long. I agree with him.
Amen.
I agree wholeheartedly with people. Those long 15 days, I know, because I just went through them. I hope that legislature could shorten them up or do something about them. And also, you mentioned about early voting in polls in northern county. And I think if any way possible that we can look at it and view it again and see about putting one in Stovall will be a help. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Wilford?
No comments tonight.
All right, Commissioner Hinman?
Well, I just want to thank all the different organizations that invited me and all our communities out to the Black History celebrations that we had this last month. I was able to go to several of those, and I've learned a lot. And it's, I never looked at I can't even remember the name of the play, the raisin in the, say it again? That's the one. I'd never looked at it that way till I went to a church and saw part of what they were talking about. And I was like, I need to go back and watch that movie again. It made a lot of sense. So it just was so awesome to be able to go to these things and be able to do that. I also agree with that early voting was way too long. If we had hundreds and hundreds of people coming out every day, I would agree with it. But we're having a trickle, and it's so hard on the people out there, and the people getting paid to be in there doing the polling. It's hard. I've done it myself. I've never done it on anything except for election day. And I would never do it on anything but election day because of the length of time it takes. It's a hard day tomorrow to have to be there that early in the morning and not leave until the very last ballot is counted. And I understand why they have such a hard time finding people to fill these spaces. So it's too late to ask you to fill them this year, but please think about it for next year, because it's a hard day. It really is a hard day for those people working there. So that's all I have for tonight. See you at the polls tomorrow, and thank you very much.
Commissioner Kozar.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have very much, just to say thank you, County Manager, for looking into the issue raised by our Board of Elections staff here tonight. Also, I want to say how much I enjoyed being at Granville County Public Schools for the CTE recognition that was this past, I'm getting my days mixed, last week on Monday or Tuesday. But students are doing some awesome things, and they recognize the teachers who work with them. And I think that's one of the real special things that we can have going on, is these opportunities through CTE. I'm very proud of the students. I'm glad to be there for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with you on the career technical education. I think is going to be the lifeblood of the traditional public schools. I think that they're the ones that have the institutional knowledge on those things, and that people are learning very quickly that not everybody needs to go to college. Lots of lost arts out there. I know I just had a truck come back from the shop, and $140 an hour labor charges. Good stuff. So we have a need, and that'll be my comments tonight. We have a need for attorney-client privilege for the matters of economic development. Do we need a general statute for that?
Thank you, everybody, for staying.
We can have a motion.
I'm so glad we didn't have to put super glue in those seats.
I'll make a motion.
We have got a motion by Commissioner Wolfer, seconded by Commissioner Jay, that we go into a closed session for attorney-client privilege on economic development.
The extension is sensitive enough, or are you worried about them wondering about that? Yeah.
I moved it, we adjourned.
Well,
Oh,
We gotta do something.
oh, I'm
We
sorry.
gotta nod our heads for Jim.
Request that you all approve a 60-day due diligence extension for the Portman contract.
I so move approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
we got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Wilford to give Portman an additional 60 days on their due diligence period. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now,
Now I make a motion to go home.
I'll second.
we got a motion by Commissioner Hivens, seconded by Commissioner Wilford to adjourn.
Everything goes on there.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?